everyone. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Samir, a distinguished figure in the debating community, known for his sharp intellect and his passion for advocacy. Samir has used his platform to empower others and drive meaningful discussions on social issues. With years of experience in competitive debate, he has inspired many to harness the power of words to create change. In this interview, we'll explore his journey and the impact of debate on his life and how it has fueled his commitment to larger issues. So let's welcome Samir to the podcast.
Hello.
Well,
Hi.
that was our perspective of Samir. So, Samir, why don't you introduce yourself from your own perspective?
Thank you guys. That was very flattering. Um, so hello everyone. I'm Samir Monn. I am turning 19 this year. Very old. But I have been debating for about 5 to 6 years already. So I started when I was 14, 13, 14 is when I started debating. I am a author. I've written 2 books. I'm a director. I'm a filmmaker. I've directed a short film on mental health and another secret project in the works. Uh, I'm a musician. I play the drums, the guitar, and I sing mainly. And yeah, and I used to be the chairperson of the National Child Rep Council.
Mm.
And I'm currently a ministerial appointee in the council, the Youth Consultation Council of Malaysia, under the Ministry of Youth and Sports. And I'm doing my A levels at the same time. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, I guess.
That's very, very wonderful. That's very interesting. So, Samir, you are so many things. You are a poet, an award-winning filmmaker, a national debater, and and all the other things that you've listed just now.
Yeah.
These titles do you most resonate with and why?
I think it has to be two. For me, out of everything that I am, being a debater is the core to everything else, in my opinion. So I think the debater part and the National Charab Council chairman part goes very well together. And for me, those two are the aspects of my life or the aspects of myself that I resonate with the most. I think it's mainly because debating, like the core of debating is your arguments. It's the way you present an argument, it's the way you think, it's the way you dissect something, whether it be a verbal cue, a sentence, an argument, a statement. The way you dissect it, the way you understand it is very crucial in debating. And I think that the skills that I developed in debate sort of helped me instrumentally in sort of being a good chairman for the National Charab Council.
Minxia, would you like to continue?
Yeah. So thank you, Caroline. That was really, really great perspective because I like that. Because earlier you mentioned that the best movie, in your opinion, this year
Yeah.
is Everything Ever All at Once. And you
Of all
are.
time, actually, of all time.
Oh wow, that's
Of
a
all time.
wow. And you are in a way playing, so many different roles all
Oh,
at once.
yes, actually, funny thing. I actually mentioned that in one of my college essays where I'm applying to because I'm applying to the US for university, and in my essay I actually talk about I draw parallels with the film and how do you cope with sort of living so many lives at once? You're doing like so many different things. You're 1 second you're singing, and the next second you are in a meeting in the Malaysian Parliament. So so it gets a bit surreal, I think. But in a way, doing so many different things at the same time, it sort of keeps me on my toes. It keeps me buoyant, I would say. Because life can get pretty drab sometimes, but having that sort of ability or the opportunity to try out so many different things at the same time, but also know that my skills are they have the potential to develop in all these other things. And I think that giving myself sort of that space and the opportunity to just try, I think really, really resonate and really mattered to me.
Mm, thank you. You talk about skills. So I'm wondering, what are the skills that you think it's really, really something that's unique to debate? What are skills that you picked up because of debate?
Okay, I think for me, because just for context, when I was debating, I almost always did third speaker. So I was always the whip. I did try first and second speaker
Yeah.
throughout the years, like especially in the early years when I was first in debate, and I was trying out the new debating styles, and I really was drawn to third speaker, and many people didn't want to do it, I think,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so daunting. You go in there with nothing. And
Yeah.
Intense.
yeah, and like you have to just come out and be able to rebut everything that the opposing side says. So I think that that was really scary when I first started debating. I was really hesitant on trying third because
Mm-hmm.
it's like you go in with a piece of blank paper while your teammates have their text and their scripts.
Yeah.
So I think that it's the number one skill that I developed through that would be quick thinking. I
Mm.
think being able to also understanding arguments in an umbrella form. That's how I would describe it. Because sometimes in some debate matches, when you're against an opponent who's debating in a way that they are not exactly squirreling, but
Yeah.
they are jumbling up their arguments under one big umbrella,
Yeah.
then after a while it becomes sort of pointless to break down one by one because it's a bazillion different arguments under one sort of umbrella argument. So I think that that ability to know when there is that big umbrella and when you can just sort of attack that umbrella without attacking the little prongs underneath. I think the skills of picking out what's important and
Mm.
discriminating between the arguments and thinking, this will give a bigger impact if I comment on this rather than the other point. So I think
Mm.
that being on my toes, thinking really fast and being able to rebut just like that, I think is a skill that took a while to develop because honestly, when I first started, I was horrible. I genuinely was really bad at third speaker when I first started, like
Uh-huh.
back when I was 13, I think.
Yeah.
I was so scared. It was very, very scary. But I think that over the years and over I don't know the and I don't remember how many mock debates I've been in or how many sparring matches I've been in, but it's a lot. And over the years, I think it's a skill that I have realized that I can develop, and I've worked very hard to develop that skill, I think.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I think debate is a perfect example of what people would call a deliberate practice.
Oh, yes.
And because you mentioned about quick thinking, right?
Yeah.
So, and I believe that it's a skill that's really crucial in daily life as well. So there are two things I'm curious. One is eventually how do you practice quick thinking so that you can apply it in debate competitions? And secondly is how do you translate that in real life?
O- Okay, so the first one is how do I practice quick thinking is
Yeah.
for me, in sort of like my debate journey, one of the most important people I would say was one of my closest friends, Iqbal. He was our first speaker in our team. So we were debating since 13. So we started almost at the same time.
Mhm.
So he was always the first speaker, and he always had the facts. So we would practice, and like in our spa matches, we would always sort of go against each other, and I would train myself to, like if he has these facts, I have to be able to like counter them at this exact time. And so I think that it's a combination of relentless sparring over the years,
Mm.
but also trying to, like when I watch debates online, when I watch like online WSDC tournaments, WUDC, I first, before I watch, I take the time to sort of understand the motion. So I read the motion, I read up on it, even though if it's a motion that I don't understand or I don't know, I will
Mm.
take the time to look up on it, and then once I understand the context of the debate, because usually in WUDC they sort of jump straight right in. Like if you look at Boso's 2016 legend of a speech in Thessaloniki, he jumps straight right
Okay.
into the Marxist ideals, and being 13, 14, not knowing what any of that is, taking that time to sort of understand the context, and then when I watch the debates, I think, how would I counter that? How would I counter that? And then seeing how people counter that, I think really, really helped. It was a lot of I wouldn't say training, but it was a lot of experimenting with what I can do and seeing, where does my brain take me when it comes to stuff like this? Where can I go and how fast can I react to this? I would really equate debate or sort
Mm.
of the art of thinking fast to almost like an F1 race. Sorry, I'm
Mm.
I'm a bit of a Formula One nerd, but um like in F1, reaction time is so important. Like you
Yeah.
miss a reaction by like a millisecond, your car can crash. I
Yeah.
think the same concept applies for debate, is that if you miss a shot at making a reaction or miss a shot at rebutting something and you lose that chance, your whole argument or your whole team could just drop down and crash. Because if you're going against a really, really strong opponent and all of their points are so strong, but suddenly you see that one opening that can sort of destroy their whole um, line of argument. If you don't take that shot, if you don't take that risk and take that shot, your whole team's case can or potentially can
Mm.
crumble. So I think that in debate, it was a lot of failing, I think. A lot of
Mm.
getting schooled by my seniors, I think. It's a lot of that, but that really sort of was constructive in helping me build up that skill set of like being able to think quick in debate.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I agree. I think for one to become a master of their craft, quote
Right.
unquote, it really takes a lot of practice, a lot of countless nights behind the computer screen.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that reference to Bosio. I think there's a reason why so many debaters know his quote by heart,
Oh yes.
his opening Madam Chair quote.
Madam Chair. Yep.
That's very interesting. I really enjoyed listening to you talk about debate. And I think that sort of contagious passion you have for debate
Yep.
can be felt through the screen.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I feel like debate is something that's so close to my heart in the sense that in a way it has defined who I am because it's been a part of my life for so long. Basically,
Mm.
most of my teenage life was debate, like I spent so many hours after school just training for debate and failing so much at district competitions, at state competitions, but also learning from that I think is the most important thing. And I
Mm,
and like because I have seen firsthand how debate has helped my life in the sense that
Mm.
now it's very hard for how to put this nicely. I think that when you're having an argument with someone, knowing how to debate is very, very, very helpful. Because you automatically are now primed or poised to pick apart arguments. You are now sort of it becomes second nature almost if you debate for long enough, I think. It becomes second nature to question everything. And because you question everything, so like let's say if I'm writing a script, I'm writing a new story, the debater side of me starts to debate every single little plot hole. I'm like, wait, but what if X is this? What if Y is that? What if this? And like, I go to like a bazillion different places thinking about every single probability. And then when I reflect on that, I'm like, why did I just think of a bazillion different outcomes to one sort of strand? And I
Mhm.
sort of think like, oh, that's me during debate. Like when I'm doing a third speaker speech, I think about every way this could go wrong, every way this could go right. So I
mhm.
sort of interleave those like thought strands together to form this like tapestry, I'll call it.
That's cool. I'm also curious because you mentioned about when it comes to in real life when you have to argue,
Yeah,
it helps.
it
So
does.
I'm always curious. Okay, because I'm not from a debate background.
Right,
Actually, I've not attended any formal competition, but I love everything that you have just said. I
right.
love how useful and helpful and applicable it is. And in my heart, I was just telling Caroline that how important it is to know how to stand for yourself
Yes.
and stand up for an opinion that you
Yep.
personally believe in. But I am also curious when it comes to argument because debate, I'm not sure about everyone else, but debate sometimes can be, rational by facts.
Yes.
And however, in real life, argument it's emotional,
Yes.
emotionally charged. Do you
Mm.
see the skills that it's not as advantageous in real life
I
argument?
think in real life arguments, this is, I think, the most clear sort of telltale sign. I think when you're arguing with a debater, if like I think the most telltale sign is that they know when to stop. I think it's like when you know that you've lost by the facts, you naturally go like, okay, you know what? I respect your side.
Uh,
Let's figure out a way. I mean, like for me, that's how I operate. If I'm having an argument with someone, which is not that often, but when I do, I naturally go by the facts. So facts is merit. Facts are goal when it comes to debate. If you got no facts, you have no case, basically. You can't debate off of sunshine and water. But I think that for debaters, because with my debate friends as well, when like we get into like little arguments or whatever,
Mm,
once the facts are there, once you lay down the facts properly,
yeah.
then I think it becomes sort of a game of like, okay, let's figure out sort of a common ground. Let's figure
Mm,
out a way to move forward. I think that's the beauty to debating, I think, is because you
mm,
understand the value of facts so much, so that when you see people arguing and they take it like so far and they really sort of hyper inflate that argument beyond what it actually is,
yep.
but in reality it's this small thing that can be settled really, really easily. So I think like with debaters, we understand sort of the value of facts.
Mm,
And once those facts have been laid out and we think rationally, if there's no point to arguing, I don't think there's, it's futile, it's a waste of everyone's time. So I think that it's for finding that balance between not letting your emotions take over. Because
mm.
because debaters, when they argue, I mean it depends on the debater, but sometimes they can be quite aggressive. Sometimes like I mean like what like how I say, oh, like the dog is out, it's like the inner beast is out. And when
Yep.
that happens, you can get taken away, carried away. But I think it's about finding that balance within sort of yourself and knowing, when can you get aggressive? Is it when people
Mm,
start getting personal? Or what boundaries do you have to draw to be able to sort of debate holistically and also
mm,
maturely? I think it's very important.
mm. Yeah, I think it is a very important skill to know how to differentiate. Okay, these are facts. These are just emotionally
Yeah.
charged statements, and these two are
Exactly,
different things.
exactly.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
Now, Caroline, do you want to go a bit more into the debating journey?
Sure. I think it's really cool what you talked about, knowing when to end an actual debate
Yeah.
and debaters knowing how to strike a balance between everything. But let's bring this to the beginning of your debating journey.
Okay. Right.
How did you first get into debating?
Okay, so back in primary school, I used to be a storyteller. So I used to do storytelling and public speaking, and I used to love, talking, basically yapping. I I was someone who always loved sort of performing, being on stage, and conversing with people. And then in Form 1, when I got into secondary school, I got into poetry. So I
Mm,
started off with poetry actually. So then in Form 2, so in Form 1, I did poetry mainly. And then there was also hints of debate there. So I was like sort of like dipping my toes into the debate pond. And then in Form 2, I decided to sort of dive in head first and try out debate with the team. So I was a reserve during that time. And I had a really good bunch of seniors. I think it was a very small group of six, and it was just like 3v3, different like configurations. We had the space to try out the different speaker roles and some really fun emotions, and we had a
mm,
really good debate teacher as well. So she sort of built that family. She sort of built that community within the six of us, and then there was sort of a natural progression from there. And then COVID hit, so we moved everything online. So we even during COVID, we had like a Discord server where we would just go and debate and have our motions there. So I think that it was from the start, I never thought I would be a debater, if that makes sense. I've always thought of myself to be a performer,
uh,
poetry, music, drama, all those things. I've never thought, and public speaking, sure, but I've never thought that I could go on a stage and properly debate. And I think it was I I always thank myself for taking that leap. I think it was a big risk on my end, I would say. And I think it was an educated wish that
mm,
turned out very, very well, I would say. Because um to be completely honest, being on stage and or being on a debate floor and having the words you say get ripped to shreds is quite nerve-wracking, I would say.
mhm,
So I think that it's sort of growing over that first hurdle, growing over that first barrier. And for me, I was someone who grew up with a stutter as well. So I think that having that as sort of like a side thing growing up, really was like I had my doubts about debating, but then once I tried it and once I went on stage, it was sort of everything sort of flowed. And once I got into like the flow zone, it was a feeling that I kept chasing. It was this rush that I kept chasing over the years, and it has led me here, I guess.
That's
Wow.
that's very interesting. And what I find surprising is that we actually have very similar experiences. For
Okay.
I I actually explored storytelling in primary school and
Oh, wow.
poetry recitation and
Yeah.
impromptu poetry writing in secondary school.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But what ultimately hooked me and kept me pursuing debating
Mhm.
was the community and that adrenaline rush you get when you go into debating,
Yes. Uh,
right?
I mean,
How
I think,
uh,
sorry?
how has your debating community shaped you?
Ooh, for me, I think the debating community is the best. I think it's the best because even though like I'm gonna talk about people outside of my school or like outside of like my sort of group,
Mm.
when we go for like, tournaments, I still am really close friends with like debating opponents, like people that we went against in debate. And
Yes.
I think it's that sense of like community that like, oh, we're both good at this exact same thing, and it's room to discuss, it's room to grow, it's room to have these conversations that will like intellectually stimulate you. So I think that it was like I'm still really close friends with some of like the debate opponents really that like we went against when we were in tournaments, but now we are like really close, and I meet up with them here and there. And I think that it's a self-sustaining community. I think it has taught me that never to take things too personally. I think that's the biggest thing that debate taught me, because sometimes on stage or like on the debate floor, you will get sometimes insults thrown at you, and you will get sort of not hurtful but not nice things said in an academic way. But I think learning that it's not personal, because the moment that you take something as personal, you lose out on the facts. You stop thinking about the facts the moment, like, if someone is like an opponent debater is saying something about your argument. I think understanding that, oh, look, that statement was on the basis of my argument, not of me as a person. Because the moment you take it personally, your emotions come to the front, and then you lose your rationale, you lose out on your facts, and everything goes. So I think that that's why I'm able to be such close friends with the people that I've debated with or against, is because I don't take it personally. And I think that this community has taught me that, in a way, is that it's never really personal. It's just a team effort. Everyone's there to win, obviously. So I think that it has really shaped me to be a person who's more understanding of a circumstance or a situation before really taking an action for it. Just stop and think, is this a personal attack, or is this something that is based on facts or the place that they're coming from as a whole?
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for
No,
sharing that.
of course.
And yeah, I think um it's almost like a team sport, right? At the end of the day,
Yes.
the sportsmanship that
Yes.
showcase whether or not it's the same team or whether or not it's an opponent. Um, can you share one or two moments that to these days that are still meaningful to you, that you're still remembering it? That you have debated for like years. You
Right.
said since 14.
Yeah.
Is there one or two moments that you could then you can still visualize and you're like, oh my gosh, I went through that, and that's such a a big moment for you that shape who you are today and shape your thinking perhaps.
Okay, so the first time we went to nationals, which was in person, it was in Ipoh. So it was a team, it was me, my first speaker, Iqbal, and then we had a junior as our second speaker. And that time I was super duper nervous. I genuinely was so scared. I think that like people forget that like we get nervous too. And like, and it's perfectly normal to be nervous and afraid on such a big stage. I think that the moment that's really struck with me is that um it was during this motion where it was what was the motion? I mean I forget the motion, but I remember being on the floor and speaking, and I don't remember anything from that speech except the applause at the end. And I was
Oh,
like, what? And it was like this shell shock moment of like being so in the flow, of being so like sort of in the zone that you forget about everything else. And your number one goal is to just sort of be in the moment and sort
mm,
of, you know, sort of organizing your thoughts to be able to sort of rebut them one by one. And I think that for me, the most memorable moment of my whole debating career was sort of when my junior took up my spot, and he was like I want to make you proud, and like I want to like do right by like the sort of like the legacy that we left behind for the school. I think that if my debating journey has inspired somebody to take up debating or to continue debating, I think that means the world to me. Even if it's for one person, it genuinely means the world to me.
mm. Yeah, you start sharing about your junior. So
Yes.
as someone who from you going through the whole process of okay, I want to take up debate,
Yeah.
and you also mentioned at the beginning it was really nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Okay, not just the beginning. I'm sure it also
Yeah.
goes on after that.
Yeah.
So from being someone who goes on competition until becoming a coach,
Yeah.
how important is building, maintaining, or sustaining this community is for all the debaters out there? And what are things that you see that you really wish that it should this should go on?
Mm.
Absolutely. I think that the key is having that self-sustaining community. I think it's the key to like debate as a whole, I think, is having that sort of holistic development within a community that can build on each other. I think, like for the case of my school, St. Paul's, we had seniors who trained us, and then we trained the juniors, and the juniors trained the other juniors,
Mm,
and it's this cycle, sorry, that just goes around in circles. And I think that it's a really beautiful thing that the passion for debate translates perfectly well with the sort of junior batch. And I think that it's all about falling in love with the art. It's all about falling in love with the craft of debate that you end up, you want to spread your passion. You want to see the sort of the legacy, I call it, to
mm,
continue on, because it's such an important life skill as well. So I think that for me, I think it's absolutely important that like the debate community has to sustain. And I think that we're doing a perfectly good job at self-sustaining, because I think that, you know, um, in the circuit, even we still meet old friends and there's still active discussion. But I think that moving forward, there has to be more, like I mean, like just like debate lah, it's a widespread initiative. I think getting the word out there on what debate truly means, and I think a platform like debate lah is really important because many people don't really know. And I think that sometimes it comes down to luck, because sometimes you're in a school which has really good debate seniors
yeah.
who can instill that love and passion for debate in you, and then it it's just by chance. But there are some
Mm,
schools or there are some areas where you won't get that, where you won't get those seniors who are passionate debating, and maybe you have to be the one to start that. Maybe you
mm,
have to be, because it did start from somewhere, like we had our seniors who were passionate about debating, and they had their seniors who were passionate about debating. But at one point, it had to have stemmed from someone taking a chance. So I think that it's important that people understand, especially young kids, 14, 15-year-olds, understand that if their school or if their team, or if they don't have a team at that point, if they're the only ones who are passionate in debating, I think that they really should understand that it's not wrong to take that leap, that it's perfectly right and it's a necessary step to creating that community in the future.
Mm. That's something I really resonate with after debating for so many years,
Right?
meeting so many cool, inspiring debaters. The people that I think of instantly when I think of who inspired me to debate in the first place were the seniors who one day knocked on the door of my classroom and asked, "Would you like to audition for a debate?" You know
Exactly.
what I mean? Similarly, Samir, who has played one of the most pivotal roles in your debating
Oh,
journey?
oh, I love this question. Um, I can't name a single person. I have to name a few, so please bear with me here. So let's start from the start. The person who sort of pushed me into debate has to be Iqbal. Um, Childhood friend, known the man for like 10 years already. Since we were in primary, since I was year three. So he got to debating first. So he was like, try out, try out, try out. And then it was our debate teacher at that time, Madam Guna. She really sort of pushed us to grow out of our comfort zone. But also at that time, my two seniors, Jonathan, he was the oldest. He was sort of like like I mentioned, that one person who has that burning passion that it sort of becomes infectious. I think for us it was Jonathan. Jonathan really sort of he was a master at his craft, but also we understood how that journey it took for him to get to that point, and he instilled a love for debate into us, and then it sort of spread. And then my direct senior a year, Divesh, he was a third speaker before me, and I think he trained me a lot. He really trained me a lot when it came to thinking about arguments and rebuttals, and I think that my style of debate is my own, but there are elements of his style that are in mine. I think that that's a really beautiful part about having these seniors to train you, is that you sort of pass it down. It's like a generational thing. So like my opening for debate, because like, I had a very so when I debated, I always had this like trademark opening. So I always used to say, for a debate to progress, there had to be a clash, and side opposition is clearly debating in a bubble and being evasive of all our points. And here are like boom, 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 boom rebuttals. And when I went and watched, so I recently was training my school, and when I recently watched them at the state level competition, seeing my junior Kieran say those exact same lines, I was like, whoa. That's so cool. Like the fact that you just said those lines, that just made me so happy, because now sort of because I got that style from Devesh, and it sort of trickled down, and I'm sure it's going to trickle on to the next person after the current batch. So I think that it's having that generational uh, trait that gets passed on, but also I think the final person who I have to give credit to who really sort of inspired me to pick up learning, I think. Because as much as debating is a skill, if you don't have the facts, if you don't learn enough, you can never no matter how good you are presenting or public speaking, not having the facts to debate it is you can't debate without the facts. So I think we had this senior named Elson, who really really was very very helpful in sort of inspiring me to wanting to learn more. And then finally, it's Madam Shamini, our most recent debate teacher, who also sort of pushed us out of our comfort zone and like ensured that we were always on our toes, and we always were up to the standard that we set, because we as hard as we can be on ourselves, we set quite a high bar when it comes to what we want to achieve and what we want. Because I think that there was a moment when I first joined debate in Form 2, like when I properly joined debate, uh, we were like, oh, we have to get to nationals. And nationals seemed like this crazy milestone that was so far away. You had 8 district tournaments, and then you had 8 more rounds in state, and then like the best of the best teams get to nationals. And so it felt like this dream, because there were seniors years before who had gone to nationals as well. So we were like, oh, we have to get back to that level. We have to like get back to that stage. And I think that um at that time, having or like that ability to set those goals and aspirations was very very important to me. And I think that at that one point, nationals was this really fast start that we were just like on course, but we kept failing so many times. We lost at districts, we lost at states, and like there were times where we were so close, like it was right there, but we didn't. But I think that it's coming to terms with like the fact that if you put in the work, if you put in the hours, you will get there. And truth be told, we went to nationals twice. 2021, 2022, if I'm not wrong. And 2021, when we went to nationals, we placed third. And it was sort of the biggest heartbreak of all our lives, because it was the last year for my senior batch, Divesh, Manish, And I think that me and Iqbal were like, this is our last rodeo with our seniors, and next year we have to take the helm. So we wanted that win so badly, and I think that it's coming to terms with the fact that we didn't win, but it's a stepping stone. And then the next year we worked twice as hard,
Mm,
went to nationals again with a junior team, and we placed second. And we didn't get that win. We were so close. It was so incredibly close, but we didn't get that win. So I think that it's it's that understanding of, win or lose. It's that journey. We districts, states, like 24 rounds of debate. It's insane. And I think that being able to place that high was a journey that is unforgettable, but also understanding the fact that, losing doesn't really mean that you have lost. I think
mm.
that, like, once you sort of take into account what you have gained and the skills that you have acquired, I think no matter what you place, it all becomes worth it.
Yeah. Well, I think ultimately debate definitely alters your brain chemistry a little
Yes, it does. It really, really does. I think that sometimes when I'm with my friends, and then like when we talk about debate, and I just get all like giddy, and I start to like really passionate, and they're like, "Whoa, where did this come from?" I'm like, Years, years of losing, years of being." Because the thing is, right, people have this misconception that, like, once you're a debater, you have to be able to start off strong. I think many kids are afraid to join debate because they feel like they lack that confidence, or they feel like they lack the skill set that you need to debate. But I wholeheartedly refute that. I think that anybody can debate. Like how in Ratatouille anyone can cook. I think that anyone can debate, because it's a muscle. I think it's a skill that you build up, and it's certainly not impossible to develop that skill over a period of time. I think that the number one sort of like debate killer, I call it, is setting a time frame. Is say, oh, by next year we have to place this, we have to do this, we have to do that. That's gonna hamper progress. I think it's going with the flow and falling in love. Debate should never feel like a chore. You should never go into a debate feeling, why am I debating this? Oh, no, no, you should never. I think like that's a wrong mindset. I think you have to go into a debate. Of course, you want to win. That's undeniable, unrefutable. You want to win, but also I think it's about knowing how far you can push yourself, and sort of exploring that avenue of how far can we take this discourse without it turning into a bloodbath, because sometimes they do.
I was actually gonna ask, oh, do you think it's a nurture or a nature when it comes to
Oh,
debating?
I would
Be-
say I would say debating is definitely a nurture thing. I think there are some people who are naturally good at public speaking,
mm,
who are good at they're very charismatic, but even having that
mm,
and not having that nurture element of building your skill set or building the way you argue or your facts, there's no point. So I think it's a combination for the lucky cases is a both thing, but
yeah,
also I think that those skill sets can be developed over a course of time. I think it's about whether or not you want to develop this skill set. Do you want to debate? That's the really big question there. Do you want to do this? Because if you don't, there's no point, genuinely.
yeah. And I believe it comes in a package, right? Do you want
Yes,
to
yes,
work hard? Do you want to
yes.
know how to lose? I think that's also part
Yes,
of it.
knowing how to lose is so, so important. I think because I think when you join debate, you sort of sign up for the long nights,
Yeah,
for the news articles, for the really long calls with your friends talking about geopolitics and the economy, and sometimes Marxist ideals, and like when you fall on the rabbit hole of like when you go into the really, really deep stuff
yeah.
that like you don't debate in tournaments, but you can debate with your friends, and it becomes like a 3 hour long call about did the chicken or the egg come first? And I think that it's sort of, what was the question again? I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm going there. I'm sorry.
Um,
What was the question again?
I think we were talking about nurture and nature, and I
Right,
was talking about the whole package.
right, the
And you
whole
mentioned
package.
you gotta
So
want it, and you gotta want the
yeah.
whole package. Yeah.
So when we get new debaters in the junior team, that's the question that I'll always ask them because there are kids who'll be reluctant, right? They'll be like, "Oh, I'm so tired. I have exams," and I completely understand that. But the main question I ask the team that me and Iqbal coach is that, look, do you want to do this? Because if we force you to debate, you're not going to debate. You're going to go up there and give a speech and it's going to crumble. So, do you want to fight for your arguments? Do you want to take your stand? Do you want to do this? Do you want to sacrifice all that you have to sacrifice to get up to? Because one thing that debate taught me is the value of hard work. I think it's that
Mm,
we really put in a lot of effort in learning, in exploring new styles and exploring new strategies. I think for me, watching myself, because like I have recordings of my sort of debate journey, like since
yeah.
I was like 14, my speeches, and I think that seeing how I have developed over the years, seeing how my style like because I can rewatch a video from when I was 15 and be like, oh, that was a horrible argument. But at the time I would be like, wow, that was so amazing, Samir. You cooked that. I think that it's having that foresight of, like, or having that hindsight of looking back and thinking, at that time, I thought that was the most amazing thing. But the fact that now I'm here and
Mm,
I can tell that that is a bad argument shows growth. It shows that I have grown as a debater and my skill set has now sort of improved or expanded now that I
mm,
know that what I said at that time, although at that time I was convinced that it was the best possible thing I could have said, there's so
yeah.
many other ways to debate. I think that that's the best part. You can revisit a motion that you have debated years ago and have a completely different approach to it now since it's been a long time. So I think that it's that versatility of debate that you can sort of come back to, I think, in a way. It's really, really nice.
Yeah, so cool. So we talk a bit about your past.
Yeah.
So we also did a bit of stalking, and you mentioned that you're looking into going into law, to
Yes, my
aspire
LinkedIn
lawyer.
profile.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
if
it's
you could share a bit more, what do you look forward the most, when it comes, and what are the long term aspirations that you would like to achieve through law career?
okay. So, recently over the summer, I did an internship at a corporate law firm,
Right.
and I think that learning the best part about law, I think, is the human aspect to it. And
Oh,
I know that people go into law because it pays really, really well and it's a really stable career,
yeah,
and perfectly valid. I completely respect
yeah,
that. I think that's a very valid reason to choose law.
yeah.
But I had my doubts about law because I know that law is the natural debater's course. Like if you grow up a debater, you
Yes.
will probably end up in law. That's like
Yeah.
the pipeline that
And
that
then politicians.
and then politician, yeah, and then after that politics. So I always had that sort of notion or that idea that, is law really for me? Do I really want to have a desk
Mm,
job, a 9 to 5? And I think that when I did my internship, seeing a sales purchase agreement or seeing like a case between these two parties, I think understanding
mm,
context or understanding the human aspect of these people involved in a particular case was really, really important to me. And I think that it really changed my perspective on, what it truly means to be a lawyer. Because at the end of the day,
mm,
you sort of think about how can you understand
mm,
or deal with the case from a vantage point of knowing these stories or understanding why is this $1 million transaction happening, what is the lore behind it, I would say, I think is the best part about law.
yeah.
And I think that when I hopefully do my law degree, uh the law gives you a platform to make a change, I think,
Mm,
because change or systemic change, change that you can feel, usually happens with policies. It usually you feel change through policies. Whether it is an economic policy where you feel your subsidies go up, so your egg chicken prices go down. You
mm,
feel that change, and that is a direct impact on the people. So I think that knowing the law, it gives me the opportunity or the platform to know where and how I can make a change or a bigger impact. because I think knowing the bureaucracy or knowing the intricacies of the machinery of which our country operates,
Mm,
or of how our legal system operates, gives you that upper hand in knowing where, how to make a change or a step that will lead to a bigger impact that will, positively affect more people. And I think that in the future, I really want to dip my foot in many aspects of the law. So I want to try conveyancing, finance, human rights, family law. I want to try many, many things and see where, which avenue can I make the most change in. And I think that people have this conception that, if you want to make a change, it has to be felt by 30 million people. I think that that's
mm,
false. I think that if a change is felt by one person, if a change is felt by a singular person, and if your actions has impacted a person, like a full person, I think that it really is something to be very proud of. It's something that, if your whole life amounts to helping 10 people, right? You're still helping 10 people. I think that that's a very beautiful thing. And I think that for me, the debating obviously really helps a lot. I forgot to talk about that. Like
mm,
being able to argue and knowing how to break apart an argument, I think it's the most important skill when it comes to law, besides
Mm.
being precise. But now that I have the soft skills that I developed in debate, I
mm.
can sort of translate that into the law degree or the law career, and then sort of build on that even more. I think that life is it's like one big house that just keep on building and just keep on adding, little furnitures here and there. This little like the small stuff you do in life, those are the little like furniture, the little furnitures here and there, a little decor. But the foundational aspect of your house, of your life, has to be the skills that you build up from a young age.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the beauties of debating is that we get to dip our toes in so many different topics,
Yes.
covering so many different themes. So the economy and
Yep.
different issues that go on in the world. And one day when we're debating, we realize that we actually care about the things that we're talking about.
Yes,
Did
exactly.
the debate similarly inspire your passion in, for example, advocacy for children's rights?
Yes, I would say that there was a time when we were nationals, and I think that it was the quarterfinals or semifinals. I forgot, but it was 2021, 2022. It was a motion on, this house regrets the depiction of disenfranchised individuals as needing help to succeed. And it was this motion that was I until today I cannot forget that motion because it was one of the best motions I've ever debated because it was so holistic in the sense that, when I was on stage and I was talking about these kids who don't have access to education and don't have access to so many essential things, I felt that you feel that passion or you feel that energy that this is what you stand for, this is what you believe is right, and this is what is right. So I think that having that realization that, I care about these kids, I care about this demographic of people, and I care about this topic, I think that having that really inspired my advocacy journey, because being in the Child Right Council, it was a lot of policy making. It was a lot of
Mm,
recommending policies or actions or steps to the government for them to carry out for the betterment of children. So I think that the debating aspect of knowing what's right and where, or what's right and when, or will this have the biggest impact, will this have the best impact for the people, was very, very important to me, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, it's not every day that I would say teens or youths get to participate in real life policy making and make substantial change in the
Yeah.
things that they believe in. However, I believe that debaters all around the world come up with innovative, well argued, and mechanized solutions to very real problems.
Yep.
Do you think there are any other avenues that we can explore to turn our substantive ideas into real life solutions?
The world is your oyster, I think. I genuinely think that there is no boundaries when it comes to turning these substantial ideas into real life solutions, because there shouldn't, realistically, there should not be a limitation, although now there is certain limitations when it comes to the accessibility in getting your ideas heard. I think that is an issue that is faced by many youth in Malaysia. And I think that there needs to be a sort of platform in the future where, like we do have youth representatives currently, but I think that there has to be wider participation. I think that there are steps that needs to be taken to widen the accessibility of ideas for real life solutions in the future. But I would say that currently there is no substantial limitation. There's nothing saying that you can't go out there and scream to the world what you think is right. There's nothing stopping you. And I think that social media is a very important platform. I think building that platform and knowing how to use or how to not weaponize, but how to mechanize
Yeah.
social media and using it in a way that can benefit a big number of people and also getting your ideas and voice heard because social media is your launch pad. It's your platform to getting out there, It's and people don't use it for that now most of the time, but I think those that do, they end up getting heard because so many people just don't do it.
Yeah, I think that brings back to the point where how important it is to know how to have a standpoint,
Yes.
form an argument, and then you voice it out. Because that's where you know how to put the skills that you have picked up into really fighting for something that you care about.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's the whole point of what you believe in, if you don't believe in a point, or if you yourself are on the fence on something, how do you expect people to believe you? That's my biggest motto. If I cannot pick a side, if I cannot properly stand on one side of a debate or one side of anything, then there's no point in telling my arguments out loud or even, spreading the idea because then people will not, I wouldn't say follow, but I would say people will not be convinced. You cannot be convincing. You cannot have that conviction if you don't stand for what you believe in, or if you don't have a clear, substantial standpoint, Because there are some debaters I see like in tournaments, they are very on the fence, They're like, oh, it's this, but it's also that. It's this, but it's also this alternative. No, stand on one side, stand your ground. That's how the judges will know that, you believe in what you're debating. I think because it's natural. We get a motion that we disagree with, and we are on a side that we disagree with. We tend to sort of freeze up. We are like, I don't really believe in these notions, but I also have to now defend them for debate. It's a very slippery slope, and I completely understand that because I have been in that position many, many times. It's that like it's a motion that I completely disagree with, but I'm on the government side, and I'm like, oh no, I do not believe in whatever I'm saying. But at the same point, I stand my ground. You know, I have the facts. I rationalize it. This is how it works. Even though I personally don't believe it, but for that match, you have to. You have to take that step back and see it in a bigger picture. Because as we mentioned before, debating is a team sport. And something that I advocate for like for like my debate juniors is that you cannot do it alone. It's physically impossible for you to win a debate by yourself. Unless you do first, second, and third speaker and reply speech, basically, unless you are a robot, you cannot win a debate all by yourself. It's a team effort. And having one really good debater and two mediocre debaters will not help. So I think that is very important that if I see a team that has a really strong debater, I'll always encourage them to help your other debaters grow. I
Mm.
think when you all have that equal standard or that equal level of debating, which is not very high, your whole team will now be really, really good. I think that it's not it's playing on everybody's strengths, but also developing those very specific strengths that you know where to deploy those strengths or where to use them in a debate is very, very important. I think that having that community that can depend on each other, but also build on each other so that they will all have that equal skill set or that equal level of debating definitely help.
Yeah, I like the part that you mentioned. The belief and the conviction.
Oh yeah.
It can be felt. not just like whatever that you say, the energy it can be felt. So if you have to be on the side where it's different from what you usually would believe in, what's your mental process actually?
Oh, I love this question. Um, Detachment is very important in my opinion. There was this one motion that we debated on. It was criminal prosecution and rehabilitation. I forgot the exact
Mm,
wording, but basically the thing was they would abolish the death penalty.
mm.
Oh, no, 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 it was abolishing jail time. So like every
Oh,
criminal goes to rehab. And that
no.
was a notion that like we were put on a side that we were all a bit shaky on. I think that because then the other side came up, and there's a really good scenario because I think that at this point we have sort of understood that, 'cause this is a match that we lost. This was an instance where we actually lost the debate.
Mm,
So the debate got very heated. So our opposing team came up and was like, "Look, judges, if somebody killed your kids and they ended up, in a white collar rehab center, not prison, and then released once they have good behavior, y how would you feel?" They played the personal card, but
yeah.
we played the card which was like, I believe we said, if you treat criminals like animals in jail, you will release animals onto the street.
Mm,
If you treat them with respect, we treat them kindly, then it gets better. So we quoted Norway, we quoted the Scandinavian government, like their sort of um perspective on rehab for
mm,
criminals. And it wasn't necessarily something that we personally believed in.
mm.
We were struggling in finding that balance of like, how do you defend that?
Yeah,
Like because there are some things that you cannot defend. There are some
yeah,
crimes which are just too heinous for you to
yeah,
be able to defend with humanity. Do you get what I mean? It's like
yeah,
there are some crimes which are just so obscene and vulgar that
yeah.
you cannot physically defend that. Like as a human being, I wouldn't want to see you
Feels
on.
wrong.
Yeah, it feels wrong to defend that. I think that's why I'll never go to criminal defense because I just can't. But I think that was a moment where you could see that the personal had leaked through. I think
Mm,
like that was a debate match where it was the moment where I learned to detach personally. So now when I have a motion that I disagree with personally, I detach. I throw Samir out of the window. And I'm like, okay, you're a third speaker, you're a debater, this is your team, this is what your team stands for. You may not stand for this, but your team has to stand for this, or not, you can't win. So I think that motivation to win is very, very important. I think that when people say, "Oh yeah, you debate for fun, you debate
yeah.
for the pleasure," you do. But when you're in a tournament, when you're in a very big tournament, I think
Mm,
that desire to win becomes the common denominator. It becomes the thing that underlies everything. So to me, detachment is very, very important because my rule now, after many, many years of debating, is that you
mm,
never let the personal through. It's a recipe for disaster. Bringing in personal anecdotes are okay,
mm,
but like the moment you say, I personally believe, no, you start going down a slippery slope
mm.
of letting your emotions take over, and then if you're debating on a side that you don't agree with,
Yeah,
the judges will start to see that you are doubting your own points. They'll start to see that disagreement, that internal disagreement leak through, and with that the conviction of your case starts to crumble and you start to lose out on that.
yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think, I mean, even just detachment alone, it is something that's important for daily life as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think that being able to take a step back and seeing the bigger picture or the wider picture of something, and then making a rational choice or factually backed choice. Sometimes, yes, your circumstances cannot be backed by facts, obviously, but the rationality behind everything is, I think, one of the most important things that every debater should take the time to learn. And the
Yeah,
detachment, it may not work for everybody, but I
yeah,
think for me, it definitely helped to not let the personal beliefs go through. Because if I have my facts and if I have that personal belief sort of overlap with the facts, it becomes really, really messy for me. So I think that having that detachment aside, as a team, this is what we believe in. This is the facts. Let's have fun. Let's debate.
Mm.
Awesome.
Yeah. Aside from fighting for something that you personally don't stand for and making that believable and making yourself believe in it for that round,
Yep.
I think it's a real challenge. But another thing that I've also figured that I face a lot that makes me really nervous during a debate round is when I don't fully understand what I'm fighting for or understand or know the ins and outs of what I'm fighting for. How have you dealt with that personally?
Okay, this is a really good question because there's some debates where you just go in and you're like, I don't know enough about the World Bank for me to be able to debate on the World Bank. I like there was a motion where we were like it was this house believes that the UN should have a standing army, and
Mm.
we know that we know what a standing army is, we know the UN Security Council, we know all these facts for the UN, but then we are like, wait, but how does this play out principally? How will, you know, like how do we make a mechanism that will work? We don't know the geopolitical insides of every country. So I think that if you don't have, okay, this is not the best debating advice, but it has worked. But when you don't have all of the facts, true facts, you have the facts that are true, never lie in a debate. But you have the facts that are true,
Mm.
even if they are not enough. Let's say you need 100% of this of facts to win, right? Even if you have 65% of, again, true facts, please don't lie in a debate because so many teams sometimes they go up and they give these like false statistics and these like false facts, and we are there like, no, that's not right. And then it becomes a debate on the fact rather than the argument. But you have, let's say you have 65% of facts,
Mm,
you can achieve a win with your delivery, with your confidence, with your willingness to engage.
mm,
I think that we have seen teams come in with not much facts, but they come in with a burning passion. They come in wielding a bat. And we are like, that's amazing, you know? And the times that we don't have enough facts to back our arguments, we take it upon to sort of go strategic. It's like a big chess game, you know. I think that knowing when you have enough facts, then it sort of becomes a bit more easier. Not having enough facts is still, it makes life a bit more difficult. But then again, you have that leeway or you have that room that your presentation or your engagement with the clash, with the heart of the debate, which is the clash. The more you're willing to engage with the clash, the more you're willing to debate. Because sometimes a debate isn't 100% facts. Usually it never is. You Debate is more human than we all have come to think of it. And what I realize is it's more human nature to it than just pure 100% facts. Facts are very important, like especially in a big sweeping debates about the world and politics and economics. You need those facts. But if you cannot play into the human emotion, if you cannot play into the human nature, it's very hard to win a debate. It's very hard for you to to emerge victorious without being able to know how to tap into the human aspect of debating. Because at the end of the day, it's an intellectual discourse. You are disagreeing, but also agreeing to keep it civil. And understanding those boundaries is very important to me as well.
I see you've come a long way in your debating journey, and
Yeah.
that's been a journey full of lessons and
Yeah.
reflections. Is there anything at all that you would have done differently if given a chance to change it?
To be completely honest, I would say no, not really. I feel very, very, very happy with where I am today. I have made it a point to have no regrets throughout my debating journey, and I've always made sure that uh my mom always tells me this, but like once you go into a debate, it doesn't matter if you win or lose, as long as you come out of the debate ring feeling utterly satisfied. Like I've done my best. I could not have wished to say anything more. I have done sort of the best that I've can. I've said all that was left to say, I have nothing left to say. I think that that is the most important part of debating for me. I think it's I would not have done anything different because I am very proud of the debater that I am today and the skill set that I have developed. And I think that no, that isn't anything that I would have done differently. It's been a tough, very, very tough journey, full of challenges, full of failures and victories, but it's a necessary challenge. It was a necessary uphill sprint, an uphill marathon.
Thank you for letting us see, so much insights
Of
that you have
course.
had in your journey. I think lastly, would like to know if you want to say something to all our aspiring debaters, what would it be?
Okay, I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent here, but I will say to all future debaters currently listening, never be afraid to take a risk with debating. Never be afraid to try new things. Never be afraid to try new topics or learn more. Because I think the main thing that holds us back is our fear. That's like if you read or watched Dune, fear is the mind killer. You
Mm,
know, having that fear will eventually paralyze you and
mm,
it will keep you stagnant. So I think that growing out of that, having the fear is okay. I think fear is a perfectly natural human response to going up to a stage and having whatever you say get ripped to shreds. But it's doing it despite it. I think it's debating despite being afraid. It's debating despite feeling nervous or afraid or insecure. I think it's taking the leap of faith because what do you have left to lose? That was a question that I asked myself a lot.
mm,
Whenever I felt like, oh, I'm gonna go up there and embarrass myself, and I would think to myself, what do I have to lose? Quite literally nothing. You know, if I failed the debate stage, I still went up there. I still put up a good fight and I still tried my best. And I think that it's that first step, it's that leap that you take to sort of jump into debating. So never be afraid to try new things. Never be afraid to try debating because trying out debating has led me on a path that I never thought I would take. If 13-year-old Samir saw me now, he would probably have a seizure. You know, I think that it's sort of taking that risk because it is a risk. Putting yourself out there is scary. It is a risk. But debating will teach you so much about yourself. I think that whenever I got offended during a debate, it allowed space or room for reflection. Why did I feel offended? Why did I feel hurt by this thing that was said? And then that becomes like soul searching 101, you know? You
yeah,
start finding out things about yourself that you never thought
yeah,
you could from just debating
yeah.
about macroeconomics. and, and I think that debating, it helps with your life in more ways than you imagine. It's more than just trophies, it's more than just certs and medals.
Mm,
When I went for my college interview to do my A levels, my debating journey really helped in answering those questions and being able to speak and having that chance or the opportunity to be able to use the skills that you develop. I think it's very, very satisfying when you spend so long developing the skills. And like at some point, I have to say, did the thought cross my mind, why am I doing this? What's the point? It's just fighting. Did that thought cross my mind some point in the last 6 years? Sure. I would say yes. It's natural, you go on stage and I have this one thing I tell myself each time. It's sort of like a mantra that I say to myself before I step into the debate ring. It's a quote from a video game that I play, and it's called and it literally is just quite. I just tell myself rip and tear until it is done. I
mm,
think that having that because I myself, I would say that I'm quite an aggressive debater. I can be on the quite aggressive side when it comes to, bam, bam, bam. This is where you like this is like I'll point out every single mistake that you made in your arguments, but also knowing because like when I first started debating, I was so I would say I was very aggressive, but then learning how to like tone down and being very mindful of
Mm,
knowing when to draw the line or when to stop
mm,
and when to, when you can't rip and tear, you just show them how it's done. That's my sort of motto that I go with, is that if the situation calls for you to be gentle or it calls for you to be I want to say distinguished or for you to be very, very professional, you have to be. If you are too aggressive in a debate, it's like you're bringing a gun to a knife fight. You know, it's it it puts you down amongst the judges even because you look too aggressive and it's not debating. It's not supposed to be a fight. It's supposed to be intellectual discourse. You're supposed to civilly disagree and agree on a topic. So I think that understanding yourself is a really, really important aspect of debate. But to everybody out there, I implore you to try it out. I implore you to know that your current point in your debating journey is not the end, or your current skill set is not the end. Your skill set is always, always, always open to development. You always will have that potential to develop, that potential for you to grow, for you to learn more as a person. But I think a big part of debate is also falling in love with learning new things, because if you don't learn you cannot debate. That's the basis of it. And people think, oh, you have to be really, 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 really smart to get into debate, and I feel that that's really, really false, because some people are put off by debate because it's thought to be it's marketed as a smart person thing. People are like,
mm.
oh, you debate, you must be smart.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter where you start off. It's whether or not are you in love with learning. Like, do you want to go home right now and look up what's on the news? Do you want to study about geopolitics and history and the way people work? And I think that it doesn't matter what you get in your exams for like that your grades never determine your potential to be a debater specifically. I think it's your drive to learn, it's your drive, it's your passion, it's your motivation to grow, to learn. And even in debate, like most of us train by watching other debaters, so I think it's that having that hard work. Sometimes I used to watch both those speeches in 2x speed because like I wanted to be efficient but also to pick stuff up. So I would like watch them in twice the speed so I could watch more and a small amount of time. So I think it's working smart and being able to balance your academics as well is really, really important, because at the end of the day, no matter how amazing of a debater you are, you can't apply it to universities with horrible grades. That's something that people have to understand as well. So I think, but the best part is, right? The best part is the more you learn for debate, the more that helps with your grades.
yeah.
So it's mutually beneficial. You get better at debate, and then your grades become significantly better because now you know so many things. So I think that there's there's nothing you can lose from debate. There's nothing that there's nothing in debate that risks you or puts you at a risk for a loss. It somewhat guarantees you learn something new, you develop your soft skills, you're able to present in front of a large crowd of people, you're able to stand up for yourself, for what is right, for what you believe in, and you will ace your university interviews and possibly even your job interviews in the future. And people will probably say that you should become a lawyer. So, so I think that it's about that. So, like, I'll stop yapping. But to everybody out there, please try it out. I think that it's a step that is absolutely necessary, and I think that and I know that it will benefit you in the long run. Because for me, in my case, debate has quite properly changed my life in almost every way possible.
Wow, thank you so much. I think that's really beautiful, and how you share about debating really puts a person into a whole self-discovery process
Yes.
and like seeing where your potential can be, and you're really betting on your potential. I think
Yes,
that's the
exactly. I
best
think
part.
that, and people don't understand that the sky is never the limit, you know? Like your potential is quite literally infinite. You cannot, there's no possible way to run out of potential. You have the potential to be anything and everything at the same time, you know? So I think that it's understanding that fact that you have, even if you think you don't, you do have the potential to debate. You have the potential to do anything you want. I think it's very, very important.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of
That was so
course.
great.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
I really enjoyed exploring how debating has changed almost every single aspect of your life and has impacted how you view life. And I think so many debaters go on to do such great things, not because debate is some magical
Yeah,
thing or people
right.
who go into debate are smart, but because of how debate does change us to love learning and to leave each debating motion with a grand new perspective, to take something away and to learn to deal with anger, to hold back
Yeah,
when we need to learn to weigh things, and it ultimately impacts so many things and how we deal with life in general. I really enjoyed listening to how debate has changed your life, and I'm sure debating will go on to change the life of thousands of students
yeah,
all over Malaysia. We
definitely.
are so grateful to have had you on our podcast today. It's been a really meaningful journey.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
having
much
me.
for coming on here, Samir.
Oh no, of course.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for
Samir.
having me. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been amazing to just talk about because it's something that I'm so passionate about and having sort of I think that like Debate Lab is an amazing platform. And I think that having the opportunity to speak about these things, it's a real honor. So thank you guys so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. I really love the conversation in and out. And I hope that you continued to spread this passion and love. It is really contagious.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
Thank you
can
so
almost see
much.
that Samuel will put a like debate into a magic pill or like a potion. That's
Oh,
like,
I
hey,
wish.
there you go.
There you go. Red pill, blue pill. Government opposition. Pick. But
Thank
yeah, no,
you.
it's been amazing. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. It like it's genuinely I'm truly honored to be the first podcast guest that you guys have had. I'm looking forward to when this comes out to just share this to everybody that I know. Because I really, really hope that this gets to inspire sort of a new generation of debaters that will sort of take the helm after we grow up.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. That was Samir Mon, everybody.
Thank
So,
you.
with what he said, I hope everyone leaves this podcast and takes away the message that he intends for debaters across the nation, to not be afraid and to take the leap of faith and to go into debating because of how beautiful this art is and how it can change other lives.